All right. It actually worked this time. Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Let's try that again. Hey guys, this is Rick Coughlin, CEO and co-founder of Grove Studios. I'm here for Grove Sessions once again. Super excited for today's session. Got a killer trio from Kalamazoo called Fourth Feel. If you didn't check out their performance that we just premiered at 7 o'clock, please go back to our Facebook page and go over to the YouTube page if you want to watch it on YouTube and check out the performance. Amazing performance, fantastic trio out of Kalamazoo, Fourth Feel. We're here with them live right now from Kalamazoo. As always, I'm here with Max Price, head of social media and marketing for Grove, producer, rapper, and entertainment consultant. I'm just going to get right into it. We can talk about what Fourth Feel is. I know that you guys come from some eclectic backgrounds. You got lots of different musical influences. I hear it in your music. I love what you guys do, and your performance on that afternoon was really cool and special just because, I don't know, music performance live in general in the age of COVID right now is pretty rad. So it was a beautiful day. You guys really set the tone for the whole day, as one of the earlier acts, and it was just mellow and rad, and you guys just really smoothed out the day for everybody that was in attendance. So thank you for that. Thank you for coming all the way to Ypsi from Kalamazoo. We've done that drive, so we appreciate it.
No, we appreciated the opportunity, man. We
had
a ball. I mean, I had a ball.
Mm-hmm.
I had never been to Ypsilanti, so I was kicking.
Right. Oh, awesome.
Amazing space.
That's cool. Great.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, it means a lot to us. And we kind of started out in our humble beginnings here in Ypsi, and our goal is to, reach artists all over the state and really all over the world someday. So I appreciate those words. But let's talk about you guys. You guys are out of Kalamazoo. You met in music school at Western. Talk a little bit about your how you guys came together, and then maybe tell us a little bit about what Fourth Feel means.
Go ahead.
All right, so I guess I'll speak. Jay and I were in class together. Sure, we had a combo together.
Even though I wasn't a part of the music school, but they were. I had to throw it out, you know what I mean?
Jay was not a member of music school. However, me and Jeff, I was, Jeff still is. I've since graduated. Anyways, the point being, yes, where did I meet you? I think I met Jeff.
He met me at a bar. We met at a jam session.
Jam session, not just the bar. I was there for the music, not the alcoholic beverages. All right.
Never. Yeah.
Never there.
Never partook.
Right. Exactly. Right. Anyway, so that's how we all met, and then, oh man, what Fourth Feel means? Like to us, it means a lot of things. Yeah. I guess conceptually, it was about us in particular, just seeing opportunities that we were looked over for, or opportunities that we just weren't getting individually, and so we were like, okay, we were kind of ranting one day, and we're like, we're kind of like a second thought to certain things, or a second thought to certain musicians, or an afterthought, and I was like, man, that could be like a group. We could be like a group. We'll make our own opportunities, and the second thought in the second place again kind of sounded a little angsty. We were like, oh, we're kind of too old to be angsty. So second thought might not go well. And then I guess we got to third thought or something. And I made the very stupid, which it worked out, suggestion that everybody uses three prongs in an outlet. And it's like, there's three everything.
Basically, you have to go one more.
I was like, so four, no one ever gives four any credit. So we're going to be four. And then the feelings kind of came from like, where did feelings come from? Because we're very sentimental people.
Nice.
Groups, right. different. Well,
Yeah.
we integrated a lot. Our music integrates a lot of different styles and contexts and things like that. So instead of saying like fourth concept
Or
or
fourth groove.
fourth groove, 'cause
Fourth concept sounds like a math rock band or something.
yeah, precisely. So we were like,
Not quite, right?
so we were like, well, almost every song we have or we've written has multiple feels to it. And we were like, fourth feel.
And that's how it was.
Yeah.
So again, don't ask what the previous name was.
Yeah,
That
we had one before our like brainstorming session where we came up with fourth field. We don't talk about the whole.
we don't talk about that. We did one performance under a different name.
Yeah.
The first rule about the old band name is that there is no old band name.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I like the name, and it's cool, kind of like, because you guys are a trio. I actually, when I first saw your name, I was like expecting four dudes to four people to show up, and I was like, what's all that about? And then it kind of reminded me of Ben Folds 5, which was not 5 people. So
I love it. It's like the 3 of you guys, and then the feel is like the 4th member of the band.
I like
And you
that.
There you go.
Because there's definitely feeling there, you know.
That's
exactly what we were thinking.
That's why Max gets paid the big bucks, because he's already marketing your shit, and you haven't even started yet. Working with Max yet, but for sure, I love it, man. I think it totally fits the band. It really does. Like, even without all the explanation, it does really. It's just great. It's great stuff, man. You guys are all like masters of your instruments. I mean, I know nobody feels like a master until, like, I don't know, maybe until you're like 50 or something. But you guys sound tight, man, and I think you got a lot going for you. In the genre and whatever you create next. So, I was like going into the, the part where did the band come from and how you guys met. But, like, how did you guys each get into music individually? Like, were you from a musical family? When did you kind of decide that, like, I'm going to do music?
I'll let you take that one first.
Take us way back.
Got it.
So my earliest memories of music is probably got to be my mom singing to me, for real. And then right after that, right on the tails of that, is probably my dad. There's two things I remember hearing, like 4 years old, sitting on the floor with whatever toys I had. My dad playing on this massive stereo. One was the Dave Brubeck Quartet, and the other was Led Zeppelin. And more people are familiar with Led Zeppelin than Dave Brubeck, but Dave Brubeck is like this like West Coast, like smooth, cool jazz stuff from the late 50s, and Led Zeppelin. So naturally, I had to find something in the middle there, I started out playing saxophone when I was 10, and I did the band thing, and then I got a little bit older, a lot older, and I realized that I kind of wanted to. Music was just like the only thing that just spoke to me on that level, and so I decided to go for it, and I decided to go to music school, and I got to give a shout out to my dad, because he's like a huge reason why I play. That's the foundation of my musical knowledge. So if he's watching, thanks, Dad.
Shout out to Dad. Cool. Love it. All right. Who's up next?
Hey, go ahead.
All right.
This is the order.
Oh, this is all right. All right, so this is on next. So let me think. I've always loved music since I was real young, that's like most people, right? But I actually started in orchestra, like 5th grade orchestra, playing viola, Not everybody is familiar with that, and even band people like to hate on that instrument, but it's okay. Viola's pretty cool. But anyways, started on viola. Then the next year I picked up guitar because everybody loves guitar. And I've been playing those instruments ever since. I stopped playing viola about my 2nd or 3rd year of college, but I kept going with guitar. I played everything from like funk, rock, and then started getting later in my years, jazz, soul, R&B, blues. I haven't done chicken. I can't do chicken picking. I can only do like one lick and that's about it. But anyways, but yeah, you know, so very eclectic, just myself alone. Yeah, I mean that's really how I got into music, is just by inspired by all the cool things you could do on the guitar and any other instrument too, for that matter. But it wasn't until I met these guys I really decided like, yo, I kind of want to do music. You know what I mean? Because originally I was going in for like the sciences. So yeah, that's kind of where it all started. That's where I'm at now.
Very cool.
Well, I come from a musical family. My mother sings. Shouts out to mom, love you so much. My older brother plays drums, and she also plays drums as well. However, I was probably a late bloomer. Like I gotta have my hands in a lot of stuff. Like I wanted to be an artist, like a visual artist at one point. And then I had tried to pick a more practical route. So all through high school, I wanted to be an architect. Or at least that's what I thought. And I was one of those people that I chose music. I didn't choose music until I turned 18. You know, I loved music and I did it, but because it wasn't the most practical thing, and you know, being from where I'm from, there's you have to think practically. So I was going to be an architect until I hit about 18, and I got sick of it. I wasn't any good at it. It was so finite, and that really. So even though my mother and she tried to keep me from music for a while too, she was like, it's such a risky, you know, thing to pursue. But once I hit 18, I kind of made that decision. And of course, I had all kinds of funk in my house, but primarily gospel, just R&B. I had hip hop, and I'm a hip hop artist as well. So I did that even before I took playing drums as serious as I do now. So by the time I hit 18, it was like everything kind of flourished. So I had my hand in hip hop, and I was doing marching band, and then I started playing drums professionally, and it was like a whole thing from there. So I would call myself a late bloomer because I didn't like take lessons or anything like that. Like I didn't. I mean, aside from like drumline in high school, but that's about all I had. But yeah, I'm playing at church.
How do you think, like, do you think playing drums affects like your hip hop? Because I started out playing drums myself and then like became a hip hop artist later down the line. And I feel like it really helped like my rhythm and stuff like that when it comes to flow for sure, you know?
I definitely agree because drummers have a different outlook on rhythm and rhythmic tendencies. And I feel like with hip hop artists, when they organize words and syllables, if they don't have that wide range of how rhythms can flow together, it tends to be like half the stuff you hear on the radio nowadays. Where it's very, you know, triple bass, and that's like it. Like, no
or they
offense.
can't stay on beat, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like,
Thank you. I like this guy. They can't stay on beat, or again, you can literally memorize every word because you know exactly how the rhythms are gonna fall. Whereas if you are a hip hop artist, or if you're a drummer before you're a hip hop artist, you kind of have that different concept of rhythms. I would agree. Sorry. Yeah.
I love how, you know, like sort of like multi-genre artists can like to have that ability. It's like to be, you know, people use the word eclectic. We have eclectic influences. I play in a band with people that have lots of different influences too. And it always lends to the sound, but I always like think it's interesting how those cross genre things happen. Same with me. I played in all kinds of bands, you know what I mean? Like, and it informs me in any situation that I'm in. I never wanted to be that kind of musician that was just like, well, I can only play punk rock, even though, you know, I love punk rock, you know, and I love listening to it. But at some point, I think, you know, it's like, just like you guys were talking about, like being angsty, like we're too old to be angsty. It's like, well, you can still have a certain edge to you, but it's like, yeah, it's a little less convincing when you're 65 and you're a punk rocker versus when you're like 19, right? So it's like being that versatility I can appreciate. And but you guys are some pretty young cats, and you're playing some music that's maybe a little bit, you know, I heard Brubeck mentioned. We talked about like Led Zeppelin a little bit earlier and stuff like that. But like, what are some other influences that either like bring you guys together or like you individually have that you kind of feel like you bring to the table in the group?
So there's only a few artists that like we all get like.
There's quite a few.
Okay,
There's quite a few.
there's a lot of overlap. There's a lot of overlap.
But on a road trip though.
But on
You
a
know what I
road
mean?
trip, there's only one artist we can listen to that like.
There's two artists. Okay,
There's gotta be more.
look, we the one thing that unites us all is soul music. Like we all love soul. Particularly, I knew where he was going. I'm not gonna say it, but there's a couple artists that we all listen to. Then there's a lot of overlap between maybe one or two of us at a time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's rare that you get us all to agree on like one person that's just awesome because of the musical backgrounds. Like I had no idea who Led Zeppelin was until Jeff was like, "You need to know these people," and I was like.
And then you were like, you need to know these.
And I was
people.
like, you need to know these people.
So, yeah,
Like,
it's a two-way street. And like the more, especially the more we find ourselves existing in like, you know, contemporary R&B, hip hop, and soul, like I'm definitely the one that's scrambling for knowledge. So,
but it comes out in the music, and that's kind of the cool part. Is like some of the stuff that y'all heard us play. Like we've all had a certain hand in writing, and some of it doesn't. It sounds like it's not supposed to work when you hear like the influences. It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna mix this kind of punk type of a situation into this smooth R&B chart, and we're gonna call it "You Up," and that's what it's gonna be. Like most people are like, punk and R&B, like
weird, man.
what? You wouldn't find Blink playing with Eric Bellinger, and I'm just like, well, that's so
Somehow it worked. Though.
It worked for
it
us.
was like,
So.
it was
Yeah. I appreciate that. I mean, it does come out. I mean, you definitely could tell that there's a lot of different influences going on. So what's that like songwriting process like? Like, does each person bring something to the table? Somebody brings a beat, somebody brings, is there a consistent format, or are you guys all over the map with it? What's it like?
There's two ways it usually goes down, and one is somebody brings a chart in and it gets arranged by everybody, or we literally just sit down and it's just like you said, like, oh, I got this groove, or like I've got this fragment of a melody, and then we call Jared Forthfield's residential chord harmonic wizard.
Very true.
Because his ears are so good they make me mad.
Man, same.
Yeah. We'll just be listening to a song, and then Jared will be like he's got relative pitch, not perfect pitch. He'll just be like, yeah, I bet there's a B minor. Just like what? Like tell me what key do you think that's in?
man. Nah.
Yeah, you're the kind of guitar player I wish I was. I wish I could do that. I'd have to open up.
Careful what you say.
Well, that's true, man. I wish I don't know.
I wish I was like, I don't even play guitar. I wish I had that capability. It's very much, our songwriting is very free form, because oftentimes like Jeff would be like, hey, do this. Like do that for me, and I'll be like, okay, and I'll be like, oh, Jared, you should play this.
I got you.
Like even the song we're working on now, we were doing a recording, and Jared had played this bass line. He was like, man, you gotta put something over this, and I was like, I put this beat that I've been playing it since I was probably 12. Like that's how old it was. Yeah. And I was just joking. He was like, that sounds really good. I was like, really?
And then you're like, you know what? I think that is pretty good.
I'm a genius. Yeah.
So, like, despite the music education, I love the fact that you guys talk to each other in onomatopoeia. And if you don't know what if people watching don't know what onomatopoeia is, it's like the sounds that it's like a word that sounds like what it is. So it's like, yeah, play the bump. Like I love that, because sometimes it's just easier to do that, and everybody knows what you're talking about.
Right.
Well, that's
I mean, you could go into the technical terms like, but it's kind of fun.
Who wants to do
Yeah,
that? Like,
yeah,
who wants
like-
to do that?
it's I mean that's one of the selling points for the group is because I know that if anybody brings in a chart written out, like these guys are going to be able to read it, as well as work, like we can work with sheet music or without, and depending on what you want to do, you might want one or the other. There's certain strengths to each one. So that's one thing that I really enjoy playing with Fourth Field.
Yeah, it was one of our biggest selling points is like Fourth Field, because we're so eclectic and because we have a lot of education between the three of us, we've got a lot of education on the musical side and just period. So it's the capability of being able to take anything somebody puts in front of us or even something that somebody can say or sing and make it come to life for an artist or even for ourselves. And that comes out in our music, as you can see.
And I would say, like, as much as we do have like a formal background, I've said for a long time, just for me personally, I feel more comfortable playing in bars than I do recital halls, and I think like similarly, like I think these guys feel a little bit similar. It's I mean, as much as like we all might have a little bit of classical training, it's not.
Give me a church any day.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, and that's interesting. Like just mentioning different venues to play in, and as far as where you play and where you have played before, like what are some of your favorite venues that you guys have played at?
Yeah, I'll take this one.
Or even tell us, is there a really interesting, fun story coming up? Because some crazy gigs. You can tell us a crazy gig story too.
Well, I can't.
Okay, is this an individual question or as a group?
Yeah.
We are open to anything. Tell if you got an individual story, do that. If you got a group story, do that.
Okay. All right.
You go.
So
ahead.
I lived in North Dakota for about 3 years. Shout out to all of my North Dakota people, Dr. Sager Johnson, everybody. Anyways, so I played in a group out there, and I'm from Kansas City, so I have never been anywhere like that whatsoever. So I played a show.
Wait a minute, you're telling me that North Dakota is different than Kansas City?
I am.
I believe it. Yeah.
Man, just that much. But I had played in a town that had literally 3 roads. It was 1 road and 2 intersections, but really 2 primary roads. And the bar was on the corner, and they didn't have a stage, and we were supposed to play outside. So they pulled a flatbed up to the gate. And that was the stage. So that was probably the weirdest place that I've played personally.
Yeah.
Jay?
Shoot. I don't have anything like super out of the ordinary where I played. I guess, I don't know, one of the weirdest places I've played, maybe like a dingy basement, but that was as far weird as I could get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Was that a college dingy basement?
Oh, it totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even weirder.
Pipes, walls are moist and
It was a
weird.
good show, though.
It
It
was
was a good show. We killed that show.
I have to think though. I don't think I've played anywhere like super weird. You know what I mean?
That's
I don't know.
Jeff?
I played
Yeah.
on a pontoon before. Does that count as weird?
Yeah, that's I mean, I don't know if it's weird, but it's definitely unique, right? I mean, how
Right.
what are the whole band like? The band set up like on a pontoon boat?
Yeah, just it wasn't in the water, but it was. They call.
Oh, wait,
it
You played on a pontoon boat that wasn't in the water?
Well, yeah, because they.
That's weird.
Right. No, they took a pontoon and they converted it into a stage / mini putt hole. So
How big was it?
Big
I wait a minute. Hold on a second. I asked if you guys had any weird stories. You're like, no. And then these two guys tell a weird story. Not even weird. They're not even that weird. And now you're telling this story. That's the weirdest. I think you won.
Well, you can thank my friend Michelle. She used to run a bar up like mid Michigan, like on the east side, called the Home Pub, and she had she and her husband are both very creative thinkers, and that was one of the products was the tune. So
it totally works. It's so like unique. I'm like literally gonna Google this place and try to find it and go there because the stage is on a pontoon boat out of the water. It's amazing.
I wonder if there's any pictures of it online right now. But yeah,
it's
cool.
Yeah, that's weird, man.
I'm glad I can contribute.
That's awesome. So what about collectively, like, any standout, venues or shows that you guys have played in recent times? I mean, I'm not fishing to say Grove Studios, but,
well,
for real, like, what's cool?
Now that I said, like, Grove, the space at Grove is like really great.
We could actually tell. Okay.
Funny thing about Grove, right?
Grove was awesome.
It was so good.
Okay.
So good.
So we didn't actually play the thing we were supposed to play. We had got invited to a festival
right
in Tennessee in the Smoky Mountains. So Jeff and I had a show the day before with another group that we were playing with, and we were like, okay, we're gonna take the show because it was on the 4th of July, and that was kind of like the big draw for it. It was like a festival on the 4th of July. We were supposed to be closers. Everything sounded up and up. Well, we take this drive. What was that, 11 hours? 10 or 11 hours to the Smoky Mountains. We get there and it's a house with like a backyard with a stage made of plywood held up by like pressurized 4x4s and tires.
Yeah. On a tiny little hill.
On a tiny hill, like.
No, granted, it's the Smoky Mountains, so it's like it's gorgeous. It's pretty
cool.
It's
the house wasn't gorgeous.
The house was not
view
gorgeous.
Of the mountains was gorgeous.
Yeah,
the house
was not gorgeous.
Sketchy, to say the very most.
Yeah.
So we ended up not actually playing.
We left.
We turned around and left.
Oh wait, so you guys were like sketched out enough, like you pulled in and you were like, I don't know, guys, and then you just left.
That's exactly.
We met the host promoter.
Mm-hmm.
He seemed very sketchy.
When we first got there, he wasn't even
there. Yeah.
And so we left to go get some food, and we're talking about it. We're just like, well, he said there was going to be like 180 people here, and there's like
nobody.
10.
There's 10.
Yeah. And
it was supposed to be a camp festival. There was only one tent on the property.
It was super weird.
It was weird.
I think that one tent was like a fire eater.
A fire eater,
like,
yes.
I don't. So
wow.
Yeah, we went back to go talk to the guy to see if he was back from whatever the hell he was doing, and, which apparently was more important than talking to the people that traveled 9 hours one way, but whatever. So we go back to talk to him just for give him the professional courtesy of telling him we were turning around and leaving. And so we did that. And
he offered us a recording session instead.
So you had a recording studio in the basement or something, or?
That's what he said.
We didn't want to find out.
That's what he said, but we didn't care to find out.
Yeah.
So,
he puts the lotion on the skin or something. No.
Exactly how he goes.
Any strange basements in the middle of nowhere. Wow. That's good. You guys have some good stories. That's for sure.
Hey,
if you don't,
like the next week, man, we just went right to you guys, and it was great.
It was
great.
That's good. We're glad we could elevate the experience for you. We appreciate that. Yeah, it's strange. I mean, I think every band's got like a story or 10 or more, depending on how long they've been together. So, yeah, it's interesting what people will try to sort of pull off without, actually having it all together. So you guys turned around. Did you guys go straight home, or did you we're like, oh, well, we're in Tennessee. Can we hang out for a while?
Well, it was still during the pandemic,
Yeah.
so we were already taking a risk going, which was kind of the nail in the coffin because we were very, we're very observant of the pandemic, but we also love what we do, so we were like, all right, we'll take this risk. It seems like a great opportunity. We had never played in Tennessee,
Yeah,
so we were like,
and they said that was the other reason why we were irritated. Is like they said that they were taking precautions and whatnot, and
and it was outdoors.
and that was part of the reason that they got us to the door even in the first place.
Right.
And like, no, they don't.
Yeah.
No, yeah,
So yeah, you got there and you felt like there were not precautions being taken care of and that kind of
yeah.
thing.
With 10
it
people,
was severely oversold.
Yeah.
Is the point.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it was nothing like advertised.
It would have been dangerous if 180 people had showed up, or
Yeah,
something.
fair enough.
I don't think they would have had the space to, had that many people safely. So, yeah.
Yeah. That's so interesting. So like, okay, like not to launch into the next thing, but I was thinking, okay, do you have any advice for people who want to do what you guys are doing? From, starting a band. I mean, you can think about it like, tips on what works at rehearsal, that kind of stuff. Like what works for you guys, that you think might work for others. And when it comes down to booking too, right? Like every experience we have as musicians, like when we get into a situation like that, and like if you've been playing for long enough, you're going to have those experiences. Now you know what not to do. And that's learning too, right? And that's totally cool. I love that. And I've got plenty of stories, like weird stories where you're just like, but it helps people when you share some insight, any kind of insight from rehearsals to booking or venues. Like, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I guess I don't take this one because I'm the one who was responsible for the Tennessee debacle. so I will say that as far as like booking, and it's definitely a question of consistency and a question of hustle. It's definitely like a who wants it more kind of thing, because contrary to popular belief, we're really not that old of a group.
Yeah.
Fourth Field turns 2 in February. Like,
Congratulations.
Thank you. So everything that we have accomplished, and that's not to say that it's much, but everything that we've accomplished in a year and some months. So even like the Grove and hooking up with you all and all of the other shows that we played, all the artists we play for, is all about like consistency and hustle, because you have to find shows in places that people who are paid to find shows know to look. But as a person like myself who was just working a regular 9 to 5, I don't know what it looks like to be a booking agent. You know what I mean? Like there's no instruction manual on go here to find gigs for your band to play. And I think Jay and I, we would bounce ideas off each other, like, let's try in this area, like let's try in that area. Let's try in these certain, so we looking in deep dark corners, but we come out with amazing opportunities, and that's a blessing in itself. So I would say, if for anybody listening personally, just be ready, be ready to work for it, because it's definitely not something that someone's going to hand you. It's not an opportunity. Like no one's going to offer you $1,000 paying gig. I mean, if they would have, I would have already said yes. So if you offering $1,000 gigs, Fourth Field is readily available for you. And but other than that, yeah, nobody's going to offer you $1,000 gig. You do have to go out there, you look for it, you work for it. That's what it is.
I think that's really good advice, actually. Yeah. I mean, despite how long you guys have been together, I mean, I think it is. I think it's solid advice. I think sometimes people are like, well, I'm playing and we're good, but like, yeah, you got to put in that extra work. And there is no like app for that. You know what I mean? Like there's not. It's there are networks and there are things you can tap into, but it's not super simple. Never has been. I think it's even more complicated now because you add social media on top of it, and you got to find ways to sell it on social media and get some attention that way too, and that's work too. It's like it's like starting a small business, and at some point maybe you grow it to a big business or a medium-sized business, but I think there is no record deal at the end of the tunnel necessarily anymore. Sure, it can happen, and I know people that do have record deals, right? Small record deals, but it's still or record labels. They exist, but it's not the end all and be all. You got to become your own business person too. So
I'm glad that you mentioned the business part, because that's the discussion that we have all the time, is how to balance the art with the business part of it. And that's one thing that I observed, in music school and even beyond just cats in school is, and it's especially a problem with people studying jazz, but it's people don't know how to market themselves. They don't know how to manage themselves. And it's not always fun to have to put the business before the music. But if you're trying to do it, for a living, sometimes that's just a necessity. You have to. Sometimes you kind of have to make that trade-off. And the hope is that you get to the point where you don't have to. But we're always having that conversation. It's what do we have to do to keep the thing going versus what do we have to do in order to keep ourselves fulfilled? That's a very much an ongoing conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a super good point too. I about 2 years ago was able to hire somebody that works with me personally as a coach, but also with Grove Studios as a coach. His name's Dan McPherson, and he operates a company called Leaders Must Lead. And one of the things that he always says is that profit and making money is not those aren't dirty words. He always says, and he always reminds me, because I'm an artist too, right? I have that same push-pull dichotomy of I'm an artist. The business side is not the most appealing side, but he always says that making money and making profit allows us the opportunity to continue to serve. And he uses that language on a lot of levels, right? But if you're an artist and you're making money and you're making, look, nobody's career is going to, look the same as far as, front to back. It's there goes my green screen. That was awesome. Now you guys see the real what's going on. It just fell over. We're going to keep rolling. But it allows us to continue to serve. So it's if you can shore up your business side of it, maybe you're not making millions, but maybe you're making $40,000 a year doing what you love.
Right.
Cool. If you're happy, that's great. Because I know people that are making, $500,000 a year, and they're the most miserable people I know. So does money really matter, right?
Right. And it's definitely difficult. It's something that one of the struggles we've faced in everything that we've done, is just trying to find the balance between how much business needs to be handled versus do we write music right now? Are we trying to create right now? Are we trying to rehearse right now? Are we trying to book right now? Because again, it's something that to be said that Forthfield has never had a manager. We've never had a booking agent. We've never had anything of the sort. So we're literally a group from the ground up. There was, we didn't have any financial backing. Everything that all our gear is our own. We drive our own cars to every show. To the point where Jay and I will sometimes take off work for certain shows, or and it's that sacrifice of okay, is it worth it? And we've had to have that conversation, and we've all pretty much decided that it is. Here we are.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's not an easy thing to come to, because everybody's got their their lives and their livelihoods and stuff like that, and maybe there's somebody's getting married or somebody's having a kid or whatever the case is. It makes all that challenging. But I dig something up there. But either way, right? Like it's complicated. It's not a simple thing. So, you know, you guys are at a great stage where you guys seem to really get along. Your music is great. Like I said, man, you guys really vibe. Everybody that was on the project, like the recording engineer and Tim, the videographer, the recording engineer, by the way, Taylor Greenshields from Fundamental Sound Company. He actually has his own studio here in Ipsy, and does just a great job. But like, you gotta keep pushing on if you're gonna do it right, and the band has to kind of be on the same page. Sounds like you guys are. Like along those lines, as far as the band being a unit, like, are there any like key messages or vibes? I know, sharing music and connecting is one of those things that you guys believe in, but is there anything else is important to you as a band, like as you develop, as you guys move forward?
Yeah, Jerry, what you
Go
got?
ahead. I gotta think.
No, he's gotta think.
Yeah. Deep question.
I
man.
guess
Deep.
I mean right off the bat, like I think family is really important for
Yeah.
each one of us.
Yeah.
So and there's a lot of times sometimes we'll have to remind each other to make sure that we're doing right by our families and friends for that matter. So in that sense, the music and the business of Fourth Field is kind of meant to it's supposed to enrich our lives, and help us, build and maintain our relationships, not take away from them. So that can be kind of tough to figure out how to be excellent without sacrificing the things that are, truly important. So yeah, I guess that's one thing.
I would also say as a group, a key word for us is going to be perseverance, because it's like, again, we in the conception of Fourth Field and just being who we are came out of a place where we all felt like we weren't doing or being used or having opportunity to show our potential and to put our dreams into action. So if anything, Fourth Field is an example that a person can do it. If you have not necessarily the talent, because you can always practice and develop and things of that nature to better yourself as a musician or as a performer or as an artist or an athlete or anything. But it's one of those things that if you want to do it, if you truly want to do it, there are sacrifices that have to be made. There are lifestyle changes that'll have to happen. There are some things that you can go through or you're going to go through, but it's still possible. So Fourth Field, for me at least, nothing is impossible. And we're proof of that. And I feel like if anything, that's a message that Fourth Field presents, is that against everything, all the negative that's been said about us, that people have slept on us. There was people that ignored us, people who didn't take us serious, and even there are some people now that look at our music and think it's almost like a mockery of the art form of jazz, and it's like it's for I don't care at all. That's the point. Like we don't care. We love creating, and it's possible to create and have people like it and be successful with it without necessarily the proper support.
And to that end, as far as like the naysayers go, there's just a lot of people that like I think you mentioned before, jazz tradition, and it like that I think made us all kind of start chuckling because
well, I mean, I probably phrased that wrong, right? Like,
well, not necessarily.
It's
we all have a bit of tradition, but I think it's a question of like what you do with it,
and we have respect for
we do, yeah.
It's just we're taking what we've learned and what we've grasped from the jazz tradition and innovating upon that foundation.
Yes, to create something
new.
Yeah. And I think that's great because and I think jazz is an amazing, like, it's an American, quintessentially American art form, right? And African American art form, right? Like it grew out of something, but that happened. That happened because of like some convergence of culture, and that happened. Jazz happened because of innovation, and I always think it's interesting that like people will be like, oh well, you know, that's not jazz, or that's not this, or that's not that, and everybody wants to put it in a specific genre bin.
Yep.
And
Yes,
confined
sir.
on the
That's-
street.
you know what I mean? Like people want to do that.
Yeah.
That's kind
And-
of how it became a thing, man. Because it's like we didn't want to be confined to like these labels
Yeah.
and classifications and whatever between genres and how we play things and what we play and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, you want to keep it open.
I'll play tradition all day. I'll do it. I love playing like straight ahead, like, you know, swinging stuff. It's great. I love it. But like I don't want to do it all the time, you know? It's not all I am. It's not all that I hear in my head, you know. There's more to the world than just that. So
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I think if you're gonna, you know, that's a very specific thing. If you're gonna like follow in the tradition and like keep that part of the tradition alive, but I think there's plenty of room for innovation. You know what I mean? Like that's my favorite part about music is when people come along and do. You know, it's like when I saw John Scofield play at the Blind Pig, like, I don't know, this must have been like 15 years ago or something. And if you guys have ever been to the Blind Pig in Ann Arbor, it was once a kind of like a you know, speakeasy kind of blues joint back in the day. It's been there for a long time, so it's real musty and dusty, and it's kind of divey. And I couldn't believe that John Scofield was playing there, of all people, right? And it was I forget the name of the record, but he was, you know, he's kind of a legendary jazz guy, but he's always been on the edge and doing innovative stuff and using weird effects for his guitar and stuff. And it was the record that he did with like, he had like, his band was, they were all like 20 years younger than him.
yeah.
And he had a DJ and like, and people were like, what the fuck is John Scofield doing? He can't do that, you know? And it's like, well, yeah, actually he can. And it was like one of the greatest shows I've ever seen in this divey college bar, but like they just crushed. It was amazing, right? Like that's what I love. And that's what I appreciate about you guys is that like you're, you know, yeah, you guys want to do a standard, you could do it. Somebody wants to shout it out, you know what I mean? They'll do it. It's like what's the free bird of jazz? You know what I mean? Is there one?
So you're gonna say it's probably gonna be Girl from Ipanema, Autumn Leaves. Oh, summertime! It's summertime. Summertime.
Perfect. Yeah, there you go.
It's summertime.
It's summertime.
It's summertime. Yeah. Do yourself a favor. Don't ever call summertime at a jam session.
For sure. But I appreciate that you guys take that approach. I think that's actually going to take you guys a long way if you stick with the whole perseverance thing. And I think that was a great point for anybody just kind of thinking about their own music career and what it takes. And I think you're right. I think it's perseverance, especially in today's musical environment. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's not some golden record deal there. It's, you know, yeah, you could get that, and it might make sense at a certain point in a career, but it's ground up. So all that said, like, what do you guys? I mean, it's a weird time right now, right? Like, touring doesn't make a ton of sense. Like, a lot of things don't make a ton of sense. What are some plans? Are you guys working on some new music? Are you guys writing? What's next for you guys?
I'm not sure how much we want to say about this.
yeah, well, you know, gotta keep.
Why are you looking at me?
Yeah, give us a little taste.
All right. So, well, first of all, Fourth Wheel is always doing something. Again, it kind of goes hand in hand with the perseverance, the hustle. We're always doing something. So, shameless but not shameless plug.
Huh.
Keep an eye on all the social media pages, all of them. Like you'll be finding out a lot. But we're working on a project or two, maybe even 2.5 projects. But yeah,
Nice.
we're working on a project with a lot of friends of ours. It's going to be pretty pretty sizable. Yes, of course, new music, because every artist has to say, "Oh, yeah, new music coming out."
Yeah.
So, but actually, new music.
I will say this one thing about the new project coming up is we basically, we let's see, I've been in Kalamazoo for like 4 years. You've been here for 3. Is that
Yeah,
right?
for 3, yeah.
So we basically, went through the contacts on our phones, and we looked for like all of the people that like made a difference for us, like when we were, kind of, learning. Well, we were still growing as musicians in Kalamazoo, before Fourth Field was a thing. All the people that were there had our backs, and
Well, we're always growing.
right, yeah, we're
Yes.
always growing.
In the beginning time.
Yeah.
You're just talking about the early growing. Yeah. I get it.
But, so we're looking for all the people that had our backs, and we were like, okay, well, let's see if we can get everybody to feature on this project. So I pretty excited for where it's going.
It's a pretty big project. It's the biggest
So-
thing that Fourth Field has done.
So guest appearances. You're gonna have tracks like featuring so and so and featuring so and so, that kind of thing.
Every single
Well,
track,
besides one.
except one.
That's dope.
Except for
It's
one.
just us. Then we
That's
got
very cool.
everything.
I love that, man. I really do. That would be a really fun project to work on. That sounds like a blast. We definitely look forward to hearing it over at Grove headquarters for sure. Yeah. So let us know. Reach out to us when that. I mean, we'll be keeping an eye too, but let us know, and we'll put you guys on blast too, and maybe we can have you back. Maybe we can do something, as this develops. Like, maybe we can have you guys out again with some of your featured performers or something, and we could do another thing in the courtyard.
That would be awesome.
That sounds
Yeah.
awesome.
That
We've got
sounds
some special plans for next summer, and some things that are actually going to be happening as the weather turns, because we don't have a full performance space indoors. Our studio facility is more, these private studio rooms that artists rent out by the hour, but we are working with a partner on some alternative venues that are going to be super sick. They're going to be live streaming based. Obviously, we still have to be careful about the number of people indoors and that kind of thing, but we've got some stuff up our sleeves. So as things develop, let's keep talking, because we enjoy you guys and we love the Kalamazoo connection. I feel like Kalamazoo is like one of those towns in some ways that has a lot in common with Ypsi. But I've always liked Kalamazoo, man. The times I've been there, had a great time. Cool downtown, cool music. Been to the Bells, Eccentric Cafe a few times. Saw some bands play there. Always a good time. Great beer. I know that's what a lot of people think about Kalamazoo, and they're like, "Oh, that's where Bells is." But there's a lot of other cool shit in Kalamazoo too. So we appreciate that. So outside of like this secretive kind of project, which is sounds like a blast, a lot of other things are uncertain right now. But as you guys think about the next 6 months and the next year and stuff, like with the uncertainty, what do you guys all think is most certain?
Well, I'll take this one. The internet is like the most certain thing that we have. Because playing out right now, it's cool when you can do it, but it's like, there's always that, thought in the back of your mind that just makes it, a little less fulfilling than you would like it to be. And then especially the farther you travel, like the more, personally me, the more anxious I get, just with COVID and whatnot, even if it is outdoors, which at this point, that's really all that we have been taking is outdoor stuff. But the internet is like, that's the way we can, it's the most consistent and surefire way to reach like the most amount of people. So I think that's really what we're going to be looking for in the next few months, is kind of like, vamping up, like our production of, content for Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Well, maybe not Facebook, what's been on the news lately, but just like, that's the most for sure thing. So, basically, like, and that's a tip I got. I don't know if you're like a fan of like, Gary Vee or whatnot.
Love Gary Vee. We talk about him all the time.
Yeah, but but he's always talking about like just tell people what you're doing. Just tell people
Yeah.
what you're doing. Literally.
Yeah.
You know,
Document, don't create.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, you want a polished product at some point, but people want, if you want to stay in the thoughts and hearts of people, you're sharing, hey guys, like it doesn't have to be polished or perfect. Cause that guy sat in the back of his dad's liquor store for like 2 years at a desk with like 3 bottles of wine and some dude on a video camera. That's literally, if you go back to his old videos, that's how he started out. Right. Like just,
Right.
You watch those videos, there's no production value at all. It's literally him sitting at a desk with 3 bottles of wine, drinking wine and talking about how shitty one of them tastes or something. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, we do that to ourselves. That's such a good point. A lot of us, I mean, we're musicians too, like about our music, we tend to be perfectionists, right? Like we want the high production value. We want that. And that's cool too. Like you should have that, but you should also document, hey guys, we're at rehearsal. We're here, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It keeps you guys popping in and out of people's minds. It's a great point, man.
Well,
Do the other guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Let's put it this way, man. Like we're not the best at doing that. Like still we're young, but like
Okay.
Yeah, nobody's the best at it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
None of us, or at least admittedly not myself, are big social media people.
Right.
So it was one of the, unlike a lot of people, especially a lot of people our age, it's like we're not on social media that often. Like Jeff would much rather I call him than Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
It's like
sure.
we're
Yeah.
really old inside. So
Well, let me ask you this. I'm really curious now that we're talking about it, though. I actually think a lot more musicians are more introverted than people actually think that they are.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
definitely
Because I'm the same way. People are always shocked when I tell them that I'm kind of introverted. They're like, "You?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'd rather." You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of, after a show or something, I'm kind of like, yeah, I'll just be over here in the corner, like with my sipping on my drink or something.
Same.
You guys, is that how you guys feel too?
we're very much that way. In
Yeah.
fact, like the newfound, like I don't want to say we're not famous by any means, but when we play shows and people are like, "Oh, you guys are so great," and half the time we're already packing up stuff, like our show's over. It's not that we don't want to socialize. It's just aside from like each other, we're rarely like out for real.
Yeah. And that's a challenge, right? Because in the age of social media and everything else, it's like you do have to force yourself to kind of get past that a little bit. And, being in front of the camera, you don't know, there's no audience reaction to that, right? Like we're just looking at each other right now. There's people watching out there, but, it does. It's like this hump you got to get over. If you want to make that a part of what you do. It's really good.
It's definitely like a do or die kind of a situation. I hate to be that dire, but like, it's gonna fizzle out if you can't figure out how to, and it's not even it's more about just communicating who you are as much as it is communicating with other people.
Yeah.
It's not about small talk. It's really about how do you communicate the big things, like.
And unfortunately, it's still like we talk about it all the time. Like it's still 50% of who you know type of a business.
Yep.
And like even especially in the age of social media, it's both that much easier and that much harder to actually know someone. So unfortunately for introverts and like Jared, Jeff, and myself, when we're at shows and other artists are talking about maybe collaborations or future projects that they would like Fourth Field to participate in, or if we would like to have an artist participate on one of our projects, one of us has to get the balls to actually go tell this artist that we're interested in working with them versus like, so it's a learned behavior that we've all had to develop. So it's like, but we're all still working on it.
Well,
Yeah,
I've observed is like I talked to a jazz pianist from Chicago, and he was telling me like, he'd be trying to book a gig at he'd be trying to book a gig at this guy's place, and like he wouldn't be able to get in contact with him by email. And he had slept on the guy's couch before, you know?
Wow.
Like, and he still
Yeah.
couldn't get him to return his emails. So it's like, as much as like you have the social media part, it really does come down to like, who do you, and it's not just like, who do you know? Like, are you there? Do you ever see this person when you're out and about? And
Yeah.
you know, the social media only goes so far before you get to the point where the guy whose couch you slept on won't return your emails.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, developing personal relationships like has always mattered. And at the end of the day, like music is an art, but it's also a business. And so anybody in the business area, and it's like funny that you brought up Gary Vee, because he's a business guy. He's a big music fan, big hip hop fan, but like he kind of like gets that part of it. And yeah, we do sort of, especially if you tend towards the introverted side, you gotta like force yourself, you know. It might be a little bit uncomfortable, but the more I've tried to do that, and the more I've forced myself over the years to just talk to somebody, the results are pretty good, you know. That's the key. But it's hard, doesn't make it any easier. So it's just something we all kind of like learn in the industry. But man, listen, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate what you do. I can't wait to hear this new project that you're talking about. It sounds rad. So it sounds like you guys are having a lot of fun with it. And you know, keep us in the loop, and let's touch base again real soon offline about, you know, setting something up, you know, over the winter or whenever that project. Do you guys have any sort of kind of ballpark date or idea when that project's going to come out?
I think we're shooting for probably early next year.
Yeah, early next year, around the time of our anniversary, which keyword.
Yeah.
Perfect. Nice. Love it. Very cool. If somebody wants to check out your music and any content that you guys have, where should they go right now?
All right. Yeah. You ain't
Hey
saying
man,
much.
we're in the midst of making a YouTube, right? So that's probably gonna be one of the primaries soon, hopefully. But in the meantime, we got Facebook, of course. Instagram's still kind of a baby, you know what I mean? So Facebook's the main one as of now, but we
Very
got
cool.
the other two coming up.
What's the Facebook handle again?
Just force
Just search out Fourth Feel on Facebook.
But it is
Look,
spelled out though.
Yeah.
It's FOURTH feel instead of the abbreviation.
Yeah.
perfect. And then look out for these guys on their YouTube channel. We're going to send you the video over, so maybe that's one of the first things you guys can throw up on your YouTube channel. We premiered the video on our YouTube channel, so if you guys want to check it out, or anybody else that's watching, check it out over there. And it's also on the Grove Studios page on Facebook. So check it out, watch the performance. Make sure you've got some decent speakers or some headphones. Don't listen to it on your cell phone, or I'm going to come over to your house and personally slap you around. No. Listen to it on good speakers, because it was mixed and mastered by Taylor Green Shields from Fundamental Sound Company. It sounds great. You guys are great live. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time to chat with me tonight. And you guys are nice guys. That's what I'm always amazed about, is that like sometimes there's this perception that musicians, because we have this introverted side and we kind of like scurry off after a set, that we're like, you know, snobby or stuck up or too good for people. It's mostly because we're kind of introverted. And I really want to show people that in these interviews, but I appreciate you guys. And it's good to see you again. I'm glad we know each other. Yeah, for sure. And best of luck to the project. And certainly we'll just keep in touch for sure.
For sure.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to do a quick outro, and then if you guys want to hang around for a second, that's great. And then we'll just tie things up. So again, Fourth Feel on Facebook. Look out for these guys on YouTube and Instagram. Great Kalamazoo trio, bringing in some of the traditions of jazz, but stretching it even further. Looking forward to hear what they do next. This weekend, we're doing our annual Equinox party. Love to see you all out there. It's going to be a great time. socially distanced. We've got 3 separate sets all day long. Each one, we can only have about 15 live attendees, but we're going to be streaming it. Some of the live streams are $10. Some of the live streams are free depending on the band. And yeah, come out. We expect good weather. It's going to be a full day. 10 or 11 bands we've got going on. But check out the Grove Studios Facebook page for details about the Equinox party. And we'll be doing more Grove sessions with more interviews. Thanks again to Fourth Feel. We appreciate everybody tuning in. You guys have a great night.
Thank you.